This is the round ahead. Thanks to Coles, Nat Edwards, Josh Gabelich and Chad Wingard with you for another week. Chad, welcome back. Good to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me back. It's good to know that I didn't quite lose my job, but it's good to be back from Darwin. Went from 33 degrees to a pitiful of 2 degrees this morning, so it's a bit of an adjustment, but it's good to be back.
You're lucky mid-season trading doesn't exist just yet, because Kate's coming for that gig.
I know. Hey, let's get through this episode. Let's see if we can hang on.
Hey, no tension here. I don't want any tension on this desk for the round ahead. There is so much to unpack, so let's dive into it. We will get to Thursday night football and Dreamtime in just a moment. But we have a Marvel Stadium doubleheader on Saturday with the Blues and the Giants, followed by the Roos and Pies later that night. Can the Lions break a 5-game losing streak against the Hawks? And then on Sunday, well, I guess the pick of the games is a resurgent Melbourne up against the Sydney Swans, while the Saints and Suns will close out the round. But let's get into what is a mouth-watering Thursday night clash, thanks to Coles, of course. And it is Geelong and the Western Bulldogs. And we can only start at one place, and that is Baslenka. Geelong's star recruit Bailey Smith faces off against his former side for the very first time. And it's fair to say there has been plenty of theatre and drama already in the build-up.
How good's it? 82,000 versus Collingwood on a Saturday night at the G. How good's that?
It's beautiful, mate. Not getting that at Ballarat, so.
It's nice to know, we're still on Bailey's mind. He's still thinking about us, even at another team. And, in the end, there's probably a few less people down in Ballarat for him to flip the bird to. So maybe that's why he's a little bit disappointed. But it makes round 11 even more interesting, which I think we'll all be looking forward to.
We don't go out of our way to, I suppose, antagonise and get under anyone's skin unnecessarily. There's obviously a combative aspect and there's a verbal aspect of the game that exists every week, no matter who you play.
So that was Western Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge this morning on a Wednesday morning before the game. Read into that what you will. Chad, what are you expecting around this? Are they going to give him the silent treatment, or do you feel like someone like a Tom Liberatore is just going to get under his skin a little bit?
I think it would be the silent treatment early on, no handshakes. He'll get straight into him. I think Libba would be the man to go to him. But I love this theatre that's coming into our game. It's really American, and it adds more to the fan engagement, but also adds more to the personality of the players at the moment. I'm really looking forward to it. I think after the game will be hugs and smiles, but I think during the game it's going to be a pretty hard-fought contest.
Have you loved the theatre of this, Josh?
I have loved the theatre now. I mean, that was 3 weeks ago. We've been building this up for the best part of a month, and all of a sudden it's almost here. And it comes at a time when Bailey Smith is one of the informed players in the competition. Park the conversation in terms of recruit of the year. He's clearly in the frame for that with Matt Kennedy, but he's almost in Brownlow medal contention right now when you consider the year that he is stacking up. Look at those numbers. They absolutely pop. And we can't forget, this is a guy that's coming off the best part of 18 months out of the game. Didn't play at all last year due to that knee reconstruction, and all of a sudden he's one of the best two-way runners in the AFL.
The way he runs and covers the ground too. He just hasn't lost anything from that ACL injury, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, the Dogs obviously wouldn't have wanted to lose Bailey Smith, but if they didn't have Bailey leaving the Dogs, then, Josh, we probably wouldn't have seen the emergence of someone who is putting together an outstanding season in Ed Richards.
I love this man, Nat. You know that. I absolutely love what he's done. Since he moved to halfback in round 6 last year, I think he's established himself now as one of the elite midfielders in the competition. I think right now you could say he's the most impactful mid-forward of centre in the game. He's number 1 for score involvements, number 1 for goal assists, 5 more goal assists than anyone. We used to sing and shout about Brian Myers, but this is what this guy's doing. He's up to 18 for the year, and for a long time, Collingwood supporters were hoping that they would lure him home, given that famous pedigree with his grandfather and his great-grandfather, but he's not going anywhere. He signed that 5-year deal. He's locked in for the long term, and he's a key part of why they're going so well this year.
He's absolutely sublime. Now, on the Geelong side of things, Chad, they'll be without their skipper in Patrick Dangerfield, which is a massive loss for them, not just in terms of leadership, but what he has brought to that forward line in his new role in 2025 has been so crucial to the Cats' success. Are you concerned at all that they're going to have any trouble filling that void?
Well, I mean, we've spoken about Patrick Dangerfield and his influence a lot on this show, and we've really rated him not just because of his age, but just the impact in general, coming from a midfielder and then turning into a really potent forward. I think what's going to happen, the silver lining for Geelong, is that I think Jeremy Cameron is going to really have an opportunity to step up. I mean, he kicked 7 goals and he's had the most shots on goal than anyone else in the competition. So yes, if he starts converting at a higher rate, you just know that he's going to be the potent player again. More targets inside forward 50 means he's going to get more shots. And like I said, I think that might be the silver lining, but you can't replace a superstar and someone that's got that knowledge of a 35-year-old player, but can other people around him kind of lift, similar to like Norton when Darcy went out.
Very, very true. This game is just an absolute toss of the coin. I don't usually ask for a tip, but a quick tip from both of you for Thursday night footy.
Western Bulldogs for me, they've won their last 2 down at GMHBA Stadium. They travel well down the highway.
I think Bulldogs as well. I think they're going to have a bit of fire in their belly after everything.
Oh, maybe I'll just go the Cats just because it's at the Cattery and just to do something different. But let's talk about Dreamtime at the G now. Essendon and Richmond. This is the showpiece of Sir Doug Nicholls' round, and we cannot wait because for the very first time, Josh, it is on a Friday night.
I love this. Primetime, Dreamtime. It's a great game. One of my favourite games on the fixture, and it marks the 20th anniversary. So I reckon about a month ago we spoke about Anzac Day and Kevin Sheedy's role in building that game up. He's been involved in so many of the marquee games when you include the Country Festival as well. But if you go back to the early 90s, he went and did an innovation course in Orlando at Disney World, and he came up with a few ideas. Anzac Day was one of them, but Dreamtime was the big one. He's been involved in so many of the great Indigenous talents that have come through at Essendon, dating all the way back to Michael Long in the late 80s. He went and got him out of the NT and really turned him into a star at Essendon, and what a famous name he is in the game. So to think 20 years on, we reached a significant milestone in the 10th anniversary of Sir Doug Nicholls' round. It's going to be a great weekend.
And you mentioned that 10th anniversary of Sir Doug Nicholls' round. Now, I think there are a lot of young fans in particular who may not actually know who exactly Sir Doug Nicholls is, but he was a proud Yorta man. He played 54 games for Fitzroy and represented the Vixen State of Origin as well. And as a player, he was speedy, he was agile, he was very small, like a little pocket rocket, but a knee injury cut short his career. And then post-footy, he was just a civil rights leader in this country. He played such a significant role in fighting for the rights of First Nations people in Australia. He was a governor of South Australia, the first Indigenous man also to be knighted. So he is such a pivotal and significant figure in Australians' history, not just when it comes to football. So it is fantastic that we get to honour him in Sir Doug Nicholls' round. Now, Chad, we all had our homework to do. Yes. During the lead up to this show, and yours was to compile your top 5 favourite Indigenous players of all time. So run us through it. Who have you got?
And this is really hard. I mean, this is why I'm going for my favourite. So number 5, I'm going to go Sean Burgoyne. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's one of the obviously.
At 5.
I know at 5, but this is just in terms of, I think it's pretty hard to pick the 5. But his ability to impact game, and he was so successful wherever he went. Number 4, I know number 4, but Lance Buddy Franklin. I mean, he's obviously one of the best players, but this again is my favourite players to watch. He was athletic, he was tall, he could do it all, and you know how much he lifted and exposed, I suppose, the AFL to that kind of era, the aura that he had.
Yes.
This is aura. Look at that. 1,000 goals.
Amazing.
I was there that night.
Yes, absolute freak. I'm trying to get everyone off. Number 3, talk about aura. We got Surioli. And you can't mention small forwards or Indigenous talent without mentioning Surioli. He's one of the best to ever do it. And again, big game player, big moments, and he was just so electric. He's one of my favourite players, as I'm sure you are, Nat, as well.
Frothing over Cyril.
Number 2, Adam Goods. Again, a guy that talk about someone who could do it all. He was an unbelievable size, about 190 odd centimetres, so poised, so potent, and could play the ruck, could play anywhere on the ground, and he just excelled in everything. And talk about off the field, his impact that he's had for our people.
Yes.
But number 1 might be a bit surprising.
This is surprising.
But Daniel Wells, for me, I loved him. He's the reason why I wore number 8 when I grew up. This is the moment. This was the moment that I was like, this guy, I've never seen anything like this in football. And I was a basketball lover, but seeing the athleticism. But Daniel Wells, for me, the inside-outside balance that he had, if he was in a team that was, I suppose, more successful, I think he would be spoken of the likes of Shawnee Burgoyne and Buddy Franklin, because he could really do it all.
Did you ever get the chance to meet him?
I did. I did actually get to meet him when I was younger, and I asked for an autograph, and I didn't have a pen or paper, so that's how it went down.
Come on, you've got to be better prepared than that. A real fanboy moment.
Yeah.
That is a missed opportunity from you. To the tape now, and on Saturday at Marvel Stadium, Giants skipper Toby Greene will run out for game 250 when the Giants face off against Carlton. And when you look at the career of Toby Greene, it's fair to say it's been very, very colourful, but no doubt too, Josh, that he's going to go down in history as one of the best, if not the best of all time at that football club. And I can't believe how young he was in that draft photo. He looked like 10.
I love that photo of Toby. He's been one of the great entertainers, Nat, of the modern era. Absolutely no doubt about that. He's just someone you love to watch if you're a neutral. You lock in. If it's Friday night and your team's not playing, you watch Toby Greene. And you're right, I think he right now is the best Giant yet. And he's going to take some beating, given his first 250 games for that club. 3-time All-Australian captain, 2-time Kevin Sheedy medalist, nearly up to 400 goals as a small, tall who started his career as a midfielder, of course. He's just so talented. Captain, can you imagine what it would do for his legacy if he was the one to lead GWS to their elusive first premiership? But one of the great entertainers. I just love watching him play.
What was it like playing against someone like Toby Greene? I mean, albeit you were probably at opposite ends, but like as a team preparing to face off against someone like him, he's a hard matchup.
Yeah, and we prepared for him every time, whether I was at Hawthorn or Port. He was a guy that you just need to know where he was.
Yeah.
And like I said, for the guys that have left that club, you think about the talent. For him to stay there speaks, I suppose, volumes of the kind of person he is and how much he's valued at that club and how much he wanted to be a part of their success. So I wish him all the best. 250 games is really hard to do, and to do it in in his fashion is pretty exciting to watch. So one of my favourites at all time in terms of that position. It's hard to have an impact as a forward, midfield, and do it consistently. And he reminds me of the Robbie Gray as well.
He's a megastar. We think how big Jordan De Goey is. Imagine if Toby Greene had played for a Collingwood or a Richmond or a Carlton. He would be in that different stratosphere.
And he's done it his way the whole time. I love that. He stayed true to himself, and whether you love him or hate him, you would love to have him on your team, that is for sure. So this game between the Blues and the Giants raises a few issues for me, specifically some trust issues. And well, to be honest right now, if you look across the competition, there are actually quite a few teams that I would categorise as untrustworthy. So Josh, we're going to dig into the Giants.
Yeah, I've got some trust issues with their midfield. And you go back to last October and they lost a lot of depth and quality in that midfield with James Peatling, Isaac Cumming and Harry Perryman all departing during the trade period and free agency. And at the time, they felt like they could cope. They kept players like Connor Stone and Xavier O'Halloran, but they weren't expecting to lose Steve Coniglio for it's going to end up being the best part of half a season. He's now going to miss another month with a really mysterious glute issue. Josh Kelly had hip surgery at the end of last year and it hasn't worked. He's going to miss more than 2 months. Brent Daniels has had another tricky injury that hasn't been resolved and has barely played at all this year. And he was so great last year. So their midfield mix has really relied on Tom Green. Finn Callahan's going to miss another month and it's been a key reason why. They just haven't got going consistently this year.
The Blues are the ones for me. So we've got two untrustworthy teams coming up against each other. But, you know, they're obviously 4 and 6 on the ledger at the moment. But at half-time, they've actually been 9 and 1. So they've led 9 times out of 10 at half-time and have just... I don't know what is going wrong because Michael Voss says it's not a fitness thing. It's not a fitness issue at all. So are they getting found out? Do they not have a plan B in second halves? But they certainly need to turn it around because they're a 164-point better team to half-time than they are in the second halves of games. So they need to turn this around quickly if they're going to play and feature in September. What about Port Adelaide, Chad? Because they're another one that have had a roller coaster of a season.
Yes, talk about trust issues. They traded me, so this is for you. This is for doing that.
Ooh, I like it.
I've got trust issues with Port Adelaide this season, and for me, they're second worst in 11 with contested possession differential, which is the second worst in a competition of 11.4, and centre bounce clearances they're 2.9 minus in I suppose their contested. Centre bounce clearances is the second worst as well, which tells me that they're not up for the battle. That they want it on their terms and they want it easy, which is not a team that's been in a prelim final last year. And the other thing for me is their average losing margin is 48 points, which just shows to me that they just give up. And I don't know how Port Adelaide fans feel when a team just gives up. You see them just come out, they play well 1 week, dominate against Hawthorn, win 3 in a row, and then they deliver something and they get smashed by 90 points. So there's my trust issues with Port Adelaide.
So you think they've got a little bit of a soft underbelly that they need to work on?
I think their mentality needs a real shift.
All right, well, those are our trust issues, and we all have trust issues on this panel, that's for sure. But when it comes to the Hook this week, or should I say the Hawk, then look no further than Saturday afternoon at the MCG. It is Hawthorn and Brisbane. And Chad, when you look at that recent record for the Hawks, they have the wood over the Lions.
Yes, they've won the last 5 matches and they haven't won since 2019, Brisbane. And I think when I was at Hawthorn, we had a real confidence that we beat them for speed. And I think you think about Hawthorn, they get around them really quick, and Brisbane aren't built around that kind of inside-outside balance. So Hawthorn have got a real, I suppose, they've only beaten one side in the top 8. So this is a real chance for them to show what they're made of.
They need a scalp, Josh, but when it comes to the Lions, have we overplayed their record at the MCG, which, you know, I guess they've proven now after winning a flag that they have what it takes to win and play well at the G.
And they've won massive games. Clearly, they've won big finals, none bigger than that game there, of course, last year in the grand final. They've won prelims, they beat Geelong, of course, they've won semi-finals. So I think that bad run at the MCG is no longer a factor. 4 of their last 5, they get another great opportunity this weekend. This is going to be one of the games of the round. I know we're looking forward to Thursday night, we're looking forward to Dreamtime, but that twilight slot on Saturday is going to be a cracker.
Selection-wise, the Hawks might have a few changes coming their way.
Well, I dare say Sam Mitchell might make up to 4 changes because he's got 4 players that are senior players that are available. Jack Gunston and Lloyd Meek didn't make the trip to Darwin. They were both managed. Jarman Impey missed that game as well due to the arrival of his first child. Luke Bruce won't play. He's going to miss again with a back injury. Connor Nash is available. He served his 4-game suspension. He's become a permanent part of that midfield, so I expect him to slot straight back in. And the curiosity is what they do with Cal Shadir. They brought him in for his first game of the year off a 5-day break. They subbed him out, really difficult conditions. Marbiot Chol's going so well. I wonder how they fit him into the midfield. They just need to get him some games. But it is a tough team to break in and cement a spot right now.
And they need to get going quickly because they've got Brisbane, Collingwood, the Bulldogs and Adelaide before their bye. So they have a really tough month coming their way, do the Hawks. So that game on Saturday afternoon at the MCG. But Fremantle hosts Port Adelaide on Saturday night. This game at Optus Stadium, and the Power will need to be wary of a new Docker who has made his mark this season. He was overlooked in a draft, but he is proving recruiters wrong. Josh.
Well, Nat, Isaiah Dudley is the shortest player in the AFL, but he is one of the biggest feel-good stories of 2025 because for a long time it never looked like he'd get this far. But back in 2019, the small forward was one of the most talented under-16 players in the country. He went through Adelaide's Next Generation Academy program, but by the 2021 draft, the Crows opted not to pick him. Port Adelaide picked his cousin, Jace Burgoyne, as a father-son pick, but every other club overlooked Isaiah Dudley. Recruiters questioned his fitness, his diet, his work ethic, but they never questioned his talent. Isaiah Dudley is part of an incredible family tree. Sean Burgoyne and Peter Burgoyne are his uncles, as are Eddie Betts and Eddie Sansbury and Graham Johncock. Cozzy Pickett is his cousin, and former Hawk Harry Miller is his godfather and close confidant. Isaiah grew up one of 6 boys, raised by a single mum and a nan in Port Lincoln. Now, after overcoming the heartache of being overlooked in a couple of drafts, things changed in the Sandful last year. Central District coach Paul Thomas got the best out of him, especially during the final series, putting him back on the radar of AFL clubs. Long-time agent Liam Pickering always believed in him, always saw Willie Rioli traits, and it's not hard to see why. So when Fremantle list boss David Walsh picked up the phone last December to offer him a trial, there was no promise beyond Christmas, but the 22-year-old returned in fantastic condition after the Christmas break to convince the Dockers. And it wasn't until late in the SSP window when Alex Pearce announced at the Indigenous All-Stars launch that Fremantle was offering Isaiah Dudley a rookie contract in front of hundreds of people, including his mum and his nan, who the Dockers secretly flew to Perth for the announcement. They were back in Perth a month later for his debut against West Coast in a derby, and now Isaiah has played the last 8 games for Justin Longmuir's side. He's come from a long way back, but Isaiah Dudley is not going anywhere.
Can't wait to see Isaiah Dudley in action come Saturday night at Optus Stadium, Freo and Port Adelaide in that one. Now, while we are on the topic of small forwards, on Sunday when the Saints and the Suns go head-to-head, we have 2 of the best small forwards going around at the moment meeting in this clash. And Chad and Josh, Jack Higgins, well, he is a genuine contender when it comes to the Coleman medal race, but he also could be a lock for All-Australian.
Well, Nat, it feels only right that during Sir Doug Nicholls' round, we start campaigning for the introduction of the Eddie Betts medal because in 2025, Chad, the small forwards are having such a big impact. It's going to be a nightmare when it comes to selection for the All-Australian team later in the year. But as you touched on, Nat, 2 of the best in the business go head-to-head at Marvel Stadium. Let's start with Jack Higgins because he's up to 28 goals. He's just 1 behind Ben King. This is a guy that is so deadly forward of centre.
He is, and he's kicking at a 74% shot rate at goal. And what I love about him is his swagger at the moment, his confidence on the game. I mean, you look at it here after this celebration, he just knows that where the goals are, but he knows that he's playing well. I mean, I love that. And when you're in that kind of mindset as a small forward, you feel like nothing can stop you.
He's got a bit of Stephen Milne about him attitude-wise, and he did grow up a diehard St Kilda supporter. We know that. Talking about someone who started at St Kilda is Ben Long. In 2022, he was traded to the Gold Coast Suns as a half-back. He spent his first season in Queensland there. But Damien Hardwick has transformed him into one of the more damaging general forwards in the competition. In fact, right now, Champion Data rate him as the #1 general forward in the AFL, having a huge amount of impact this year. As is a guy that we have loved on this show, Paul Curtis. I can't wait to get your view on him because he was tracking towards a maiden All-Australian blazer before he copped that 3-game suspension for that contentious tackle on Josh Sinn. PC's back this week and he's going to be back in All-Australian contention.
Yes, Paul Curtis, he is my favourite small forward. I'm just going to put it out there now. And the reasons why is that he's a dual threat. He's obviously the second highest goals per game with 2.6 in the small forwards this year, and he's second in the whole AFL with tackles inside forward 50 with 2.6, almost double what it is to the guys on this list. So you think about the impact he has. He really reminds me of a Sirioli, dare I say it, in terms of the impact that he has on both sides of the field. I mean, he's impacting really well. Hopefully he can get back into that form again.
That's a big call, but dual threat, I like that when it comes to Paul Curtis. How about Jamie Elliott? This is a guy that has never been in the All-Australian squad, let alone in the All-Australian team. He's almost 33, but he's got 23 goals on the board, and right now he's clearly in contention for the All-Australian team.
Yeah, and the reason why he hasn't had an All-Australian, he's had a lot of injury setbacks, but he hasn't put a full season together. And when I think about Jamie Elliott, I think about the most clutch player that I've ever seen in this game. When it talks about big games, late in games, and who do you want the ball in hand when it's a set shot, when the game's on the line, you've got to take Jamie Elliott. And I think I've said if he can just keep his body right at 33 to get an All-Australian would be amazing.
Now, I've got to point out Riley West because his last 5 games have been absolutely enormous. No Sam Darcy in that forward line, and with no Cody Waitman all year this year, he is really standing up for the Western Bulldogs. Nick Watson is a former teammate of yours, someone on this show that we all adore. Up to 17 goals, he is really having an impact, and he's doing it in different ways.
Yeah, he is. And his last 3 weeks, he kicked 8 goals in 11 shots. And I mean, that's a real tick for him because he's missed early in his young career. He hasn't kicked that well. He's averaging around 50, I suppose, % at goal. But last week, 3 goals in the first half really kept Hawthorn, I suppose, in the game. And his demeanour, you see his celebrations, you see his energy that he has. He's going to be one to watch in the future.
Nat, never an easy task when picking an All-Australian small forward. Often they only go with one. Sometimes they have 2. Right now, clearly, they're going to have 2 at a minimum in that team.
The more the merrier. I'm all about a small forward myself, and the Eddie Betts medal, I like the sound of that. Now, as we wrap up the round ahead, let's take a quick rip around of the final few games of round 11, starting with North Melbourne and Collingwood. And Josh, I know you love a ruck battle, and there's going to be a fairly good one in this game.
Oh, I can't get over Tristan Cherry at the moment. I mean, you look at his last 4 games, and North Melbourne have clearly improved out of sight. They've got just the 1 win. They've got the draw. They came very close in the other 2 games. He's polled 35 of 40 coaches' votes in that period. It's the reason why he's leading that award right now, and that's something that a lot of people in the industry take a very close notice of. He's coming for Max Gawn. Ooh. He's coming. We often see 2 ruckmen in the All-Australian team, and I think right now they're worthy of having one on the bench.
That makes sense to me. Adelaide and West Coast is the other one. And Chad, has there been a bit of an overreaction with everyone jumping off the bandwagon when it comes to the Crows and their 3-headed monster?
Massive overreaction. I mean, it was a wet game. It was raining. And they've had enough evidence to show that this is their point of difference. Yeah. So this is a real advantage for Crows. And like I said, it's worked long enough it's a massive overreaction. I think they're going to bounce back and have a good game.
Stick with it, Matthew Nicks. That is the key there. Melbourne and Sydney, both sides 4 and 6. This is a crunch game. In my opinion, the Swans need to win this game if they are going to make finals. It is an 8-point ball game for them. But Chad, who do you think has a better chance of making finals at this point?
Well, if you go on recent form, it's got to be Melbourne. I mean, I think they're the one. We talk about trust issues. I've got trust issues massively with Sydney. I mean, I know they've got some players that have come back, but Melbourne, for me, their recent form gone, and you just know what they're going to get. I mean, for a team that's in the grand final last year, it's pretty rare to say that you've got trust issues with them, but I do at the moment.
Well, it's good to have the team back. I trust both of you. Not that I didn't trust Kate, but it is good to have Chad back on the round ahead. Thanks to Coles. Thank you so much for joining us and for watching. We'll be back again next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, enjoy the footy.